Welcome back. Well, we're still reading all these notebooks about the kings, and the next one is King Demeth. King Demeth took the throne in 4692 DE at the age of 154. Though the public was generally not happy with the reign of G, it appears as though they were pleased with his choice of Demeth to succeed him. Demeth had joined the Guild of Maintainers at the age of 5, as most did, and risen to the level of Guild Master by the time he was chosen as king. The selection was a surprise to much of the public, and apparently even to Demeth himself. It was not a post he had especially desired to have. Almost immediately Demeth ordered a ban on all unnecessary links to be enforced by the Maintainers, while the council carried out emergency meetings, trying to decide their stance on the outsiders. In these meetings the council concluded that relations with the outsiders should continue, but with much stricter restrictions and guidelines. The list was so long that Demeth signed into law. The list was long that Demeth signed into law and included the restriction of any outsiders operating Dunny machinery or linking books. Perhaps more importantly, the council and king sent a clear message to all of the factions who were against outsider involvement with Dunny. Their ideas would not be tolerated if they led to an infraction of the rules previously established by Lo Shamanesh, which were to become strictly enforced. And though it was not stated publicly, the Relyama, meaning the unseen, was apparently ordered to double its membership and find any and all who were carrying out illegal activities with the outsiders. As well, Demeth denounced the words of the Watcher as pure rubbish, and nothing more than a desperately lonely man seeking attention. In 4721 DE, Demeth pushed an amendment that forced the major guilds to accept a percentage of students who passed all entrance exams but could not afford the steep prices. It was the first such action in history of Dunny, and one that many seemed to question, especially the guilds themselves. However, Demeth was able to convince them it was a necessity for the society, and one to which they cautiously agreed. In 4724 DE, records point to over 10 separate groups being convicted of the Lo Shamanesh laws, as they had come to be called. Most agreed that the Relyama played a large role in the convictions, although there are no official records of their involvement. Regardless, each of the convicted was sentenced to solitary confinement on prison ages. The convictions must have carried a powerful impact on the society, as the public still knew very little of the Relyama, if anything at all, and thus had no idea how so many convictions were occurring. As one writer said, there were stories of dark shadows and mysterious creatures. For those carrying out such activities, it was said that the eyes of Demeth saw everything, while his arms took anyone he wanted. The crime rate, especially pertaining to the Lo Shamanesh laws, steadily lowered until 4752, when there were only 3 recorded convictions. In 4784 DE, an assassination attempt was carried out against Demeth, resulting in the death of 2 members of the Relyama, who saved Demeth's life in the process. The perpetrators were found, and 2 years later, Demeth ordered their execution. It was the first execution of its kind and met with little resistance from the public or council. The 2 men were apparently linked into a death age, permanently ending their lives. Though most agreed with the execution, those who were against outsider involvement to begin with now felt even stronger in their case. Now, they argued, Dunny is killing itself for the sake of the outsiders. In 4826, Demeth was rewarded for his efforts pertaining to the acceptance policies of the major guilds. The first of the Guild of Stonemasons' non-paying members headed the effort to devise early fusion compounding technology, a building block for the eventual development of Nera. Demeth praised the guild and the numerous opportunities that all citizens of Dunny now had to benefit their society. In 4843, at the age of 305, Demeth passed away, leaving the throne to his firstborn son. More footnotes. Some argued that G didn't make the choice of Demeth, but that Grandmaster Imas of the Guild of Maintainers made it. The matter was never officially settled, although most contributed the choice to G. From Demeth's speech, explaining to the people the findings of the council meeting. By that time, the major guilds had become extremely expensive, and the large majority of the population, even if qualified to join the guilds, had no way to afford it. Taken from the private journals of Guildmaster Rishan of the Guild of Archivists. From Revealing the Unseen, written by Bisharan in 5999, Goshen, leader of the cult group Blood of Yavo, made the comment in a public speech. The comments were made by Demeth at the public announcement of the fusion compounding technology. Well, there's some mention of outsiders in this notebook. That probably refers to people from Aegis visited by the Dunny. And here we can see beginnings of the decay of society, where they start to distrust everyone who's not Dani and see that they are getting too proud for their own good. The next king we want to read about is Me'emen, and it's the wrong book. Oh wait, it's the wrong desk. The next king is Me'emen, and that's this notebook. King Me'emen. Again, I'm just guessing all these pronunciations. King Me'emen took the throne in 5240 DE at the age of 83. One of the biggest announcements of Me'emen's reign came rather quickly and was offered by the Guild of Miners and Stonemasons, who had worked together. In 5307 they revealed Nera, as it had been created in a laboratory weeks earlier. Nera offered tremendous opportunities for mining and construction, and ended up having a massive impact on the future opportunities for Dani. Even at the time of its release, there was apparently much excitement about its potential. In 5312 DE, a disease broke out in the industrial district of Dani, most likely originated in the age of Yasif. The outbreak caused widespread panic, as many predicted another plague similar to what had occurred in the 2100s. Fortunately, the illness was not nearly as lethal as the aforementioned, and the Guild of Healers reacted extraordinarily fast in finding a cure. Regardless, there was again a new push to at least separate the Neveril district far away from the city proper. Me'emen apparently liked the idea quite a bit, and encouraged the surveyors to begin looking into such an expansion. In 5359 DE, the Dani received another great reason to begin major expansion, and it came in the form of Stonetooth. It was the second of the Great Diggers, and quite a bit more powerful and technologically advanced than the older Stone Eater. Me'emen immediately ordered the Guild of Miners to begin clearing an area, along with Stone Eater, for a new industrial district replacing Neveril. It was not until 5475 DE that actual construction was begun on the new industrial section Uran. Less than 100 years after Stonetooth, in 5473 DE, the Guild of Maintainers announced that the newly discovered Darafini could be used to create much improved and much more protective maintainer suits. Though such an announcement may not seem especially important, the new suits ended up having a great impact on Dani culture. Since the maintainers were able to take bigger risks with the types of ages they could explore, the Guild of Writers were allowed to be a bit more liberal in their writing, and a new breach of ages was begun. During Me'emen's reign, words became a common topic of discussion, and attention was again given to the older temples. Evidence pointed to numerous remodels and renovations of many of the secular temples that had been built years earlier on the new line of the Great Zero. It seems that Me'emen himself paid little attention to the religious pulse of his people, being much more interested in technological advancement and city expansion to care. Once Me'emen felt that Stone Eater and Stonetooth were no longer needed, he recommended using them to build an underground tunnel connecting the island to the city proper, and minimizing the need for boat travel. His proposition was not embraced by any means, especially by the upper classes who were living on the island. Apparently there were a number of protests for fear of the effect the tunnel could have on the island. The proposal was also rejected by most of the guilds, causing Me'emen not to force it. In 5500 DE, the first imports from other ages were linked to the new Uran district, much further from the city. Uran was said to be a tremendous improvement over the older Neveril, much more advanced and much safer, and there was tremendous celebration on the day of its opening. Security was tight in the new district, as it was revealed later that the Relyama had uncovered a variety of plots intended to display some of the factions' disagreement with the district. In 5540 DE, Me'emen's only son became extremely ill and ended up passing away 6 months later. As a member of the Guild of Healers, Ashem was often the first to investigate new ages to make sure of their safety in relation to disease. As a result of his death, the age was not approved until a cure could be found. Me'emen considered the actions of his son heroic, and changed the name of the Uran district to Ashemen a year after his death. It was said that the death left Me'emen deeply saddened, devoid of the excitement that he had shown throughout his reign. Many said it forced him to the prophetess Trizari. Me'emen apparently spent much time with Trizari in his last days, and was able to die a content man because of her. Me'emen died in 5549 DE at the very ripe age of 392, and chose his nephew, probably on recommendation of Trizari, to succeed him. This one also has footnotes. A metallic grey stone, 30 times the density of steel, and the hardest of all Dani stones. That's Nera. Yasif was mostly forest and provided Dani with a good portion of its wood supply, including the expensive and rare Yema. The industrial district was formed during the reign of Nidra and served as an important center for most outside goods. The newer ages allowed for much more experimentation with atmospheres, animal life, and energy sources. From the Journal of Grandmaster Vijar of the Guild of Stone Miners. From the journals of the prophetess Desari, assigned to King Me'emen. It should be noted that the prophetess had been assigned to all of the kings, but for the most part had become nothing more than figureheads rarely consulted. From Ashim, written by Ramana in 5589. Okay, well, I will continue in the next video.